a lot of our work with other museums does inform our work in the Courage Museum, but I think not in the way that you would expect. When I first started working with Futures Without Violence, we just opened the 9/11 Museum and just started working with Brian Stevenson to make what was eventually called the Legacy Museum. And then we went on to make Greenwood Rising, as well as a number of other institutions of incredibly challenging narratives, the types of narratives that a society says, this is important, people should go to this museum and suffer through the scalding narratives that are encased inside of here, bearing witness to the past so it's not repeated in the future, right? The challenge was that as we started to naturally apply a lot of those learnings from those institutions to Futures Without Violence, as it was called then in terms of the museum, it slowly but surely became clear it just was not going to be effective because issues, for example, of domestic violence are hidden in plain sight. It's the type of thing that we as a society don't want to talk about, don't talk about. It's part of the reasons why it does continue to be so pervasive, is that it's in the present moment still a challenge that we're unable to face. And that's frankly quite different than even the polarizing issues that I mentioned before, whether it's national security, mass incarceration. Those are issues that are out front that people are arguing about, that there are sides on. Those sides may or may not be productive. The fight itself may be unproductive, but it's still a fight, right? Our society is still signifying and flagging constantly. This is something that's important that we need to think about. By the time you get to an issue like domestic violence, it's much more appropriate for us to try to figure out, how do we position a museum where people would want to go to it? And that seems self-obvious, but again, we had, and when we built the Legacy Museum, an unexpected deluge of people who suddenly really wanted to deal with racial reckoning, issues around white supremacy that lead naturally to mass incarceration today. I firmly believe that the years we spent trying to figure out how to really focus the museum on issues like domestic violence helped us to see, again, this is not the way to position the museum for success, right? What you don't want to have is the blurb underneath the picture of the museum that says, please bring your children here so they can learn more about domestic violence. But once we unlock this idea that, all right, we're going to pivot this from a museum that sort of holds up tough truths that you need to face into everyone knows about these issues. We swim inside them so much, we're not even aware of them anymore. So the first thing that we're going to do is once again remind ourselves that all of these issues of violence are A, not a foregone conclusion, and B, something that we can address as individuals and communities and as a society in general. And that then led us to this idea of, and what's keeping us from doing that revealing? What's keeping us from really facing violence and addressing it in all the different ways that we can? And that's where we got to courage. We lack courage as individuals, as communities, as our society at large, whether it is because of our human nature or our personalities, or the fact that, again, we're going against the grain in many ways of a society that profits in a number of different ways, not just financially, from that violence. And so going up against a whole society, especially when you think about our biology as social creatures, it's uncomfortable. It's not natural. It doesn't come to us naturally. It can often have a lot more to do with our brains and figuring out how to make something better than with the instincts we have to herd with other people who may be acting in similar ways. And so the Courage Museum has this incredible opportunity to build a new community, to signal to people that they're not alone when they think to themselves, can we make this differently? Or just to invite people to see their own courage and to take action in the world with whatever tools that they have.